Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the KIWIEARS Orchestra LITE. This is KIWIEARS' latest offering. They have the original orchestra, which was also an all BA set, and also 8 BAs like this one. Then they had the cadenza, which was a single DD priced at $35, which was amazing for its price. Amazing, one of the better single DDs you can get in the budget segment, and capable of actually going up with going up against way more expensive IEMs. And now we got the Orchestra LITE priced at $250. I got this one from LINSOUL, so I want to thank LINSOUL for having provided me the unit for this review. They are available in two colors: the green faceplate, which I'll show you now in a second, which is the one I have, and then the blue faceplate. The box, very simple affair. Actually, the small little side note, I think the box is fine, but the product is so nice. Not only visually is it beautiful, as you can see, but it's such a serious product that I think a little bit more classy box would have been nice. But anyway, that's just me, so don't pay too much, don't give it too much importance. You open it up, the IEMs came over there, obviously. Lift that out. Underneath was a carrying case, plenty of tips, although to be honest, the tips are not really the greatest. I don't think the tips bring out the best that the KIWIEARS offers, but hey, it is what it is. They are there, they are for free, so better than not having any tips. All right, so that's the box there out of the way. The carrying case, again, I would, it's not the bad carrying case, but I would have liked to have seen it something a little bit more premium, especially for a product of this nature, which is really nice. Okay, the cable is the last of the small remarks that I want to make with regards to the actual hardware side of things. It could have been better. I mean, this is $250, so I'm sure that a better quality cable could have been included. Okay, all right. Anyway, guys, that's just me, just being honest and just saying it the way I see. As for the IEMs, here we go. All resin shell. See if I can focus this. All resin shell. There we go. Beautiful shell. You can see inside. Construction is faultless. This is the blue. The green faceplate, as you can see. It just looks very premium. Very premium. It runs 8 BAs, as I mentioned before. They are divided into a 2-4-2 setup, which is 2 on the bass, 4 on the mids, 2 on the highs. And that already says a lot, which is the fact that this has been tuned with a very specific objective in mind, which is, it is an IEM that its focus is the mids. The mids are the star of the show, all right? So fit is beautiful in my ears. I had no complaints. I'm using the KIWIEARS 07 tips. I'm using a 4-core silver-plated cable from XINHS. This one was actually custom made for me with specific terminations. That's it. I mean, hardware wise, it's for me, it scores full marks. There's nothing to be said. Anyway, compared to what I've got here, just focus. There we go. Compared to what I've got here, what do I have here? KZ AS16 Pro, AudioSense DT600, C Audio Bravery, okay, and Arrivetti 0400. 8 BAs, $55 to $60. 6 BAs, $220 to $240. C Audio Bravery, the original one was about $270. The limited edition ones were a little bit more expensive. The latest limited edition one, this is actually the anniversary. The latest limited edition one is the RB red and black, and then the Arrivetti 399. Well, this is 4 BAs, sorry, and then the Arrivetti also 4 BAs, and that's $399. Onto the sound, which is what we are here to know and what we are here to want to understand. Okay. The sound of the LITE can in a nutshell be said, or I consider it to be a warm neutral with a slight bass boost. Okay, kind of a warm neutral. Okay, so neutral with a very slight bass boost. It's got very smooth and very balanced tonality. the bass boost that has been given is being done in a very mature, very balanced manner. If everything on this IM is the mids, and then the mids being complemented with a perfectly executed bass and a almost perfectly executed treble. Okay, so the bass is beautiful. It's got good texture, good speed. It is capable of rumbling when it has to, although this is by no means a bass head IEM. This is not an IEM that will be most at home playing EDM or playing hip hop or anything of the sort, but it will do it, and I didn't encounter any lack of ability to play those genres. But if you're playing if you're listening to some jazz, if you're listening to some vocal centric stuff, this is in its element. It's absolutely faultless. The mid-range is, as I said, full, beautiful. And then, as I mentioned before, it's all about having this very well executed timbre and tonality, about it being, how can I find the word? Well, for lack of a better word, it's got a mature tuning, period. Let's keep things simple. I sometimes struggle with the wording that I want to find, but okay, it's all about having a real, properly done, mature tuning. Everything, I mean, the vocals on the orchestra are absolutely faultless. I mean, there wasn't any song in particular that I said, no, this is not correct. Be it What You're Gonna Do from Frank McComb, which is a male voice, perfectly. It's just got everything done, to perfection. To Carol Box Elephant, again, perfect. Her voice comes across amazing. Or be it, for example, something like, let me see something here with just instruments that I liked listening to. Where is it? Oh yeah, of course, Feels Good from Rashaan Patterson. Beautiful, beautiful. But Twilight, Brian Simpson, which is just instruments. Very, very nice. Seriously, very, very nicely executed. Sunrise from Larry Carlton. That's sublime. One of my favorite songs to listen to in the orchestra LITE. It does it really, really well. Okay. What are then the flaws, or what did I found that was not as good as the rest? Well, the technical side of things here is where a little bit more work needs to be done. The soundstage is a little bit more on the intimate side. It's not as grandiose as you would expect or would want, for perhaps. Sometimes the separation of, if a song has got more information, is more complicated, can get a little bit complicated, can get a little bit overwhelmed. The light can be a little bit overwhelmed, and in those instances it can get slightly harsh. Okay, so that's another thing. And then, of course, if the soundstage is more on the intimate side, then you don't have that feeling of space, of 3D that, again, ideally you would like. The strange thing about this is that although the timbre and the tonality are very well done, there are occasions as well where you say to yourself, okay, but this could be a little bit more musical. Why isn't it more musical? But look, that's me just now nitpicking and really going into the more, I'm trying to falter, okay, what is in essence a very well executed IEM. I mean, there's really not much that I can say, oh no, this is wrong, or this is no. That's I'm being really hard now. So how does it then stand, or how does it then compare to what I've got here? Well, the AS16 Pro from KZ is an 8BA IEM that got some love and got a little bit of hate because of the way that it was tuned and so on and so forth. So ultimately, an impedance adapter was the ideal way to kind of do away with that early pinner gain, which was kind of making things a little bit too forward and sound perhaps a little bit off and a little bit unrealistic. But the reality is this: the AS16 for the $60 that it costs is very good. Yes, there's an emphasis on the bass, and that's perhaps the main focus on this IEM, the bass. It's got that thick quality to it. It could be a little bit more textured, could be a little bit more resolving, but because it's been tuned in that thick manner, it can't, but it's not offensive. It's got, for the rest of the frequency range, it's got, in my opinion, a near lackluster performance. I mean, mids are fine, vocals, more the male vocals and the female vocals are the ones that shine, but instruments, timbre and tonality on the instrument side is perfect. It's got good extension up top, no real signs of sibilance or harshness or anything. Yes, you do notice that BA timbre occasionally in some songs, but I mean, come on, people, this is $60, and what KZ has done here for $60, I in my books, I give it really a good solid 4 stars out of 5, because it is a genuinely very good IM. Is it on the same league as the Orchestra LITE? No, it isn't on the same league as the Orchestra LITE, of course not. But the reality is this: it's also tuned in a completely different manner. However, having said that, there are aspects of the AS16 which are more satisfying than the KIWIEARS. One aspect straight away is the bass. So if you like your bass a little bit stronger, yes, you get a very high quality bass here, slightly less quality over there, but you get monstrous amounts of bass here as compared to there. They both are using the same 22955 BAs for the bass, and 2 of them on each side. But that's the reality. In terms of treble, there are occasions again that I found the treble here to be slightly edging out the treble of the KIWIEARS. And why do I say that? Because sometimes in the KIWIEARS I get that feeling that there's a little bit extra detail that could be had there that is not there, and this goes again towards what I was saying earlier about the technical side, or the technical aspects of the KIWIEARS. It's, the sound stage is a little bit closed. That one there, it's got about the same sound stage. The imaging is decent. The same thing over there. Imaging there is pretty decent. Detailed retrieval, they trade blows again. So it's actually quite interesting to see how an IM that costs $60 technically is capable of keeping up with an IM way more expensive. Overall, and this not being a musical IM, as I mentioned, not being the most ideal musical IM, overall this does play better than the you feel that you are listening to something which is more mature, okay, that is more polished. So yeah, that's, I guess, with regards to the KZ, we already get a feel here, okay. And again, I've chosen these specific all-BA sets because they are some of my favorite. The DT600, the AudioSense DT600 was for a long time my recommendation for the $220 to $240 price range that it had. It had nothing that could really compete with it. 6 BAs, 2 configuration, 2 bass, 2 mids, 2 highs. With the impedance adapter, you got this crazy amount of sub bass. It didn't even sound like it was a BA. It sounded like you had a DD over there. And if there were points that were to be pointed at as negative, was the fact that because of the way the bass was done, it also kind of closed down that the way the mid bass was down. It brought it down, so it closed down that engageness that you get from some drums and so on and so forth. But again, I mean, this is me now being hard and trying to falter it. Overall, for the price, it was near faultless. Again, a good solid 4 out of 5, and that's why I wrecked it a lot of the times. Compared to the KIWIEARS, I would say that they end up matching each other very equally, because this does have more technical capabilities than the KIWIEARS. It does have better sub bass than the KIWIEARS. But then there's just something here, and again, I think that has to do with the way that the mids have been done in one and the other, that the KIWIEARS just sounds more satisfying. The KIWIEARS just sounds more correct, okay? So I would say that these two are very equally matched, and I would even go a little bit further and say that the KIWIEARS is now it's now a second recommendation for me, from me, if you're looking for an all-BA set at under $300, okay? The Bravery, and the reason why I've got 2 years, because one has got a different tuning than the other. So they have revised the tuning. There's more extension on here. This sounds more like an Oli VX. This sounds less like an Oli VX. The only issue with the Bravery compared to, technically, it is more detailed than the KIWIEARS. There's more twinklies and sparklies, better soundstage, better imaging, but it sounds too clinical. And again, I want to repeat this. Although this does have a very good timbre and a very good tonality, it occasionally doesn't sound musical. Okay, that there is worse in that aspect. It's got technically very good capabilities, but it's way too clinical. It's way too spick and span. Let's put it that way. You know, you want to have some dirt sometimes to make things a little bit more engaging. And finally, the Olivetti 0400, an IM that kind of, from what I was able to ascertain, went very much under the radar. And it's a pity because it reminds me a lot of the RSV, of the Softears RSV. It's got a very similar sound. Again, it's got this very neutral type of signature with a slight little boost in the mids. But what that gives us is a very mature tuning, a very very natural vocals, very natural instruments. It's got great extension in the treble. It's you know, the build is premium again. As I mean, you just look at this IM. Hold on, focus, yeah, people. Come on, there we go. The build on this IM is absolutely faultless. It's beautifully built. So you know, the Olivetti, its problem, well, not problem, is it costs $400. So when you're trying to justify $400 over 250, it's a little bit hard, especially when you got half the BAs. You got 4 there and you got 8 over here. In terms of pure sound, and if I have to look at just pure sound alone, I would say the Olivetti overall edges out the KIWIEARS. It's got better technicalities, better quality treble. The mids are about equal, and the bass again about equal. Okay, it edges out. Then it's a question of price. Okay. So overall, how can I then, what's the final conclusion I can give you guys about the KIWIEARS? Very well built, very competently tuned. In terms of its timbre, its tonality, it's very correct, and that's why I just don't understand why there's this occasional lack of musicality. Okay, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself too much over that, because maybe it's just me. Okay, but I don't know. It's you know, you listen to the AS16, and however colored and however wrong it sounds, it always sounds very very fun, very, it's got that kind of sound, like for example you get on some of ISN's products and some of Penon's products. The tuning curve doesn't seem ideal, but it just sounds good. It just sounds appealing, you know. Okay, the DT600 again, very good tonality, very good timbre. It's very well executed, and although it has that recess in the mid bass, which takes away from some dynamics, it sounds again very engaging, very satisfying. You want to listen to it. Okay. The bravery is good, but it's very clean, it's very correct. Okay, you could almost say that these two here are from an analog era, let's put it that way, while these ones are from a the bravery is from a digital era, sorry. And the Olivetti again, it sounds, it's got a very nice kind of, it's very satisfying. And I remember the first time I listened to it, because I actually bought this unit secondhand. And I recall the previous owner telling me that he just didn't find it engaging and so on and so forth. And the first time I listened to it, I straight away put on the KB ear tips. And I was like, wow, but this sounds so good. You know, this sounds really, really good. And then I exchanged a few more ideas with him, and I understood what was his what was the reason why he was saying what he was saying, and it had to do a lot because of the musical style that he listens to. He likes listening to rock, and yes, this doesn't do rock ideally, no, but when it comes to like jazz, like I like listening to a lot, and the occasional more dynamic jazz and some like Café de Anatolia stuff, this thing is absolutely beautiful. It's just got this really nice musicality to it. And the KIWIEARS, I love it. I really like it, and that's why I'm saying it's now my rec under $300, a par with the DT600. But there are occasions that for some reason, which I can't put my finger on it, because as I've mentioned already and repeated, great tonality, great timbre, the musicality lacks. So, that's the thing. Anyway, guys, that's my opinion. That's my take on the KIWIEARS. I would rec it definitely a rec. A lot of the things that I've said that are my opinion, my unit, and the measurements you'll see now next are of my unit. Perhaps other reviewers and others that have got it won't think the same way and concur, because obviously their units are slightly different, and their ears are different as well. But that's it. I mean, let's just get straight into the graphs, and that's it. See you now. Take care. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section of the KIWIEARS Orchestra LITE. This is the graph of the orchestra. As you can see, it's got that neutralish feel, or appearance to it. Very smooth pinna gain, and very, kind of very flat across the whole 2 to 8K area. That slight warmness of the bass, that, kind of a bass boost over there. Very similar to to what you get in the audio sensor, and I'll show it to you now in a second. This is the audio sensor that also has that kind of bass, but obviously way more pronounced. But anyway, I'll get that in a second. So it's got this nice warm bass boost, no bleeding into the mids, and the extension here also showcases a little bit what you hear, which is then that lack of ultimate detail. But the truth is this: you don't notice that these are BAs that are here. Everything, there's no BA timbre, there's no BA metallicness. It is sounding really good. This is a mature tuned IEM that sounds good. It has amazing mid-range, and it's a very solid performer. I mean, just for the sake of you guys understanding, when I say that the mid-range is good, I'm going to show you here the full Performer 5, which is an IEM which I personally think has really nice mid-range. Okay, and then I'll show you also the audio. Where is it? A full. Sorry. Oh my God, my apologies, guys. A full. There we go. Okay. This is the full Performer 5. Okay, and I'll just also, there we go. And let me just change the color of this so you guys can see better. All right. In blue is the full Performer 5, and as you can see, very similar to the orchestra. Yes, it's got a DD, so the bass sounds completely different. There's more weight to it, more extension. But the mids, as you can see, is very similar to the Orchestra LITE, and there lies the magic not only of the Performer 5, in my opinion, but also the magic of the Orchestra LITE. It's the mids. The mids on this IEM are absolutely surreal, and as promised, let me just quickly show you now as well the audio, just so you guys can see as well. And why? Because again, it's an IEM that has amazing mids. Audio. It's a pity that they've actually phased it out. There we go. Again, let me just center it. Again, 500 hertz. There we go. Look at the mids of the awur. Look at the mids of the orchestra. Beautifully executed. I mean, really, the mids on the awur are faultless. The mids on the Orchestra LITE are faultless. Okay, anyway, that's enough of that. Let's compare it to the IEMs that I used in my test here. Bring it up. Okay, first one, the DT600, loads of sub bass. This this quick dip takes away some of that mid bass dynamics that you would like. But anyway, overall, way more detailed retrieval. It's got this extra energy, as you can see, but it kind of almost follows the same curve as the Orchestra LITE. You don't really notice that peak there, honestly, you don't. And it's like I said earlier, it's although they are similar, they are also a little bit different in the way they come across, especially because of this difference that exists over here in the bass of the DT600. But the DT600 is really good. It's a magical IM. It's got this fantastic timbre, this fantastic tonality, great mids as well, good extension. You know, technicalities are perfect. Can't really falter it. Okay, that's that. 3, the C Audio Bravery, the Anniversary Edition. Graphically, you would say, okay, these must sound very similar. No, they don't. Although you have apparently more mid-bass impact on the Bravery, you get the feeling that yes, it is slightly more mid-bass, but it's a more clinical, it's a more cold-sounding mid-bass impact. The mids are, for the most part, very identical, and then the Bravery does have a little bit more extension, okay? It does give it better technicalities, but it just sounds very clinical, very cold. And mind you, I'm saying this, but I like it. I'm just saying now and trying to give an idea of how it sounds next to the orchestra, okay? So that's the C Audio out of the way. KZ AS16 Pro. Okay, again, 2 BAs in the bass, loads of bass, very noticeable the difference. Then the way that it does the pinna gain on both is very similar. There's just a higher peak and more energy on the KZ, although you don't really notice this, and what you actually hear on the KZ is that it sounds darker than what it graphs, okay? Decent enough extension. And the treble, actually, I found the treble on the KZ, as I mentioned, for the most part, or well, not for the most part, on certain occasions, I found it to be slightly more polished than the treble on the KIWIEARS, and having a little slightly better technicalities, or technicalities that at least are on par. Let's put it that way. That the technicalities of the A16 are on par with the technicalities of the KIWIEARS, and we're talking $60 versus $250. So I think that is pretty good. That's a good job there. And then finally the Olivetti. I mean, you can't get really more neutral than this. Really neutral. But the funny thing is, when you actually listen to this, in terms of the quality of the bass the Olivetti has, it's surreal. It is really, really good. And I'll show you another graph of the RSV and you'll understand what I'm saying. Mids are faultless. Faultless. The mids are faultless, trust me. And the extension, although it apparently seems like it has less extension and also perhaps lacks a little bit of that 3D-ness, and you know, no, it actually is more capable technically than is the KIWIEARS, okay? And as I was saying, just for the sake of you guys understanding why I like the Olivetti so much, let me just now put the graph here quickly of the RSV, which I believe is this one here. Yes, exactly. Okay, that's the graph of my RSV. People, I think it says it all. The bass is almost identical. The weight, then it just goes, I mean this whole area between 150 and let's say 3K is basically the same. If you told me it was left and right channel, I would accept it, no problem. This extra energy that the RSV here has, you don't really notice it. Honestly, you don't really notice it. What you do notice is a little bit extra extension on the RSV, a little bit extra extension on occasions. But otherwise, the Olivetti is, look, it's there for everyone to see. It is a very competently tuned IM that, I mean, for some reason just went under the radar a little bit. And of course, $400 is money. Anyway, guys, this is my review, or this is my take on the Orchestra LITE. I'll leave you with the graph. A very nice IM, a definite rec of mine, and an IM that if you're looking for an all-BA set under $300, definitely this, the DT600, definitely 2 IMs that I would seriously consider. If you like, however, something a little bit more clinical or a little bit more detailed, but still keeping that good balance, then okay, the Bravery is an option. Between this and the DT600, honestly, it's give and take. They trade blows. They honestly trade blows. I would say it's 50-50 too. I don't want to say the one wins or the other, because I really enjoyed listening to both of them. Anyway, guys, as always, any questions you might have, please ask away. like and subscribe. You already know the story. The YouTube gods like it when you put a like on the video. It helps me out as well, so please. And yeah, that's it. See you in the next one. Take care.